obligation as leaders to make sure that when Kenyans come out to work in countries like the UK, the way you are doing, they do not come here to work at the lowest cadre of the opportunities. You know, for example, the Kenyans in the Gulf. When somebody tells you they work in Gulf, any country, what comes to your mind? Exactly. And I believe Kenyans are more than that. We are definitely more than that. We can do like what all of us here are doing. And that is why you see even remittance per capita, per person, the UK, the US and the UK is #1 per capita, per person. Because the quality of money you make here is definitely better and more. The kind of jobs you do here, on average, I mean, we are not all equal even here, is much better on average than in many other areas. And therefore, you need to be commended. But I also want to highlight that one thing that happened to me, and I became a very proud Kenyan, while still around here. So I got some guy from Barbados in the black taxis. And we were there in the taxi. He was not talking. As usual, you see how they, you know how they do their business and their work. But upon arriving to the place we were going, the guy, and we were just having a usual chat even at the back of the taxi. The guy asked, "You guys, are you Kenyan?" Then I actually thought maybe this guy is from Nairobi. Then we told him, "Yes, we are from Kenya." "How did you know?" Do you know what he told us? He responded that, "You guys are so cool. I knew you are Kenyan." And please clap for yourselves, it's not me. Because that is the kind of name you have given our country even out here. Imagine we are not even talking in Swahili. We were speaking in the language that you use here. But the guy could recognize that out of the 50-something countries from Africa, that where you get cool Africans, it is from the capital of Africa called Kenya. And you guys have put Kenya in that kind of dispensation and map. I want to talk about two things which brought me here so that we can also interact. One is business, and the other one is investments. And those are the topics that when I'm not doing the public policy I'm doing, and being a public servant, I enjoy the kind of topic you give me. Because I believe also it is a way of moving our country and our continent closer to the kind of country we have here in the UK. Business and investments. There are many other names you can give them. Entrepreneurship is some form of it, but I'll categorize them broadly into two. That is in terms of business, but also in terms of investments. And we spend much more time on the investment side. When we talk about business and we are talking generally about the economy, there are things I am sure you do, but I'm just reminding all of us to keep on doing. Because many times when we do things without foresight, we end up using a lot of, or doing so much hard work for so little return. When you go to cut some firewood and you can't take some few minutes to sharpen the axe, then you end up being so tired, doing so much hard work, which was not consequential. And I find that a lot of the time, the things we do in those two fronts, business and investments, in many areas we work so hard, get so little return, because we don't invest in knowing. We just want to do without sharpening the axe first. It is important. I have seen you are doing so well already. Champion Homes, very nice. My brother here, Councillor, Yaani wewe umekuja hapa unaokota pesa na bado uko siasa. UK. Asante sana. This is very commendable and phenomenal. So it is important all the time when you are thinking about business, for example, we start there. You are here in the UK, but your home is in Kenya. But you want to do business. So where, first of all, do you want to do business? Is it here or there? And then, after you know that, these two economies are very different. The demographics are very different. But also the supply chains are equally very different. And the abundances are also polars. They are opposites. While Kenya, we have abundance of labor, here in terms of accumulation of capital is much higher. So you need to think about, when you think about business, leverage about you being Kenyan, but also knowing so much about the UK. So that you decide, whatever business you do, whether it's here or there, what makes the best use of you. But more importantly, and it's something I keep on doing myself, understand the world. Understanding the world doesn't take you too long. Many times I find when we are watching football for 2 hours, the same enthusiasm we watch football and those who watch movies and the rest. If you took some time to also learn about the world you live in, economically speaking, that you can watch Bloomberg, CNBC, and all the other channels that sharpen your acumen of making decisions in terms of economy and business, you can only become better. What do I mean? Take, for example, how the world has been. Because all these things add up to our decisions today. The reason why I'm telling you I'm back to school, I've been back to school, is the same reason many of you have been back to school. Why do you go back to school? And especially when it's not about the pay rise. It is also to know more, to be more efficient, to make your decisions more yielding. Are we together? And I've come to understand that it's important for me to also understand how the economy of the world has been. Now, we are here in the UK, very organized country, very organized city here in London, very organized. But you can tell it is a fading power. You can tell it is a fading power. And this, it's not about the UK, it's about how the world has been. So that it helps you in making decisions. Many years back, like 250 years back, or 300, Netherlands was the superpower of the world. Can you even believe that? It was the superpower, including their currency was the global reserve currency. After some years, the United Kingdom, where we are, became the superpower of the world. Of course, after the UK, the US took over. And I'm talking about superpower in terms of growth of GDP, the wealth of the people, technology, and all those things combined, including being the owner of the reserve currency at that particular time. Now you can already tell we are now headed towards Asia. We are moving towards China in terms of the versatility of the economies, whether we like it or not. It's not a matter of I like this or this. It's about how the sequence of the economy is shaping up. That helps everyone when you're making a decision to know the kind of business you need to do anywhere else. Why? Netherlands is there, bequeathed to the UK where we are. Again, the US took over. Now, we can tell there is a tussle between the US and China. Even their GDP in terms of size, the per capita one, the US is very much ahead. But in terms of the aggregate, you can see China is coming closer all the time because their growth in terms of GDP is much higher than the US. So the gap keeps on bridging. Because when number 2 is growing faster than number 1, you are reducing the gap. How does that, why am I giving all these manenos here? It helps you to know where the economy is at a particular time. An economy that is already grown like here, like the US, even the leaders, when we are elected to do different things. A leader in the US, the UK, Germany, all these other countries, you are elected to run a country. Because the country is already there, you run it. But when you are elected as a leader in a country like Kenya, many parts of Asia, the entire of Africa, you are elected to build a country. And there's a difference between building a country and running one. In Germany, it's about maintaining the infrastructure that you already have. In Kenya, it's about building critical infrastructure that is lacking. So your decision making must be very different. But also that carries along all of us as business people. And I'm also talking about it as an entrepreneur. When you are living in a country like here, the UK, the US, the UK, and also the other countries that have already advanced so much, the opportunities in those countries are very different from the opportunities in Indonesia, in Thailand, in those other countries in Asia, but they are also very different from the opportunities we have in Kenya and Africa. As I've put it earlier, you guys, this country now, when the mayor is elected, he does not call you into barazas the way you do in Kenya. Nitaweka lami pale, mutakunywa maji. You'd think this guy is out of his mind, is it? Because he's elected to basically make sure that is done and that is working. But in Kenya, it becomes a political promise that you are going to build roads and you are going to supply water in terms of piped water. So that's not the point. The point is that all the economies of the world, how they have grown, you adopt labor-intensive industries. You grow, and pollutive industries. After you've grown and exhausted all those opportunities, you upgrade to skill-based. After you upgrade to skill-based, you then upgrade to capital-based. After you exhaust now capital is abundant and etc., you now go to technology-driven economy. So if you draw a chart from labor-intensive, skill-intensive, capital-intensive, technology-intensive, here, UK, they are now looking at ways of doing things more efficiently. They're already there at the technology level. Kenya, we are still at labor-intensive, the lowest of the cadre. But what we must do as the African economies, including Kenya, is to do something called leapfrogging. Yes, we need to take care of abundance of labor by supplying job opportunities, because it's both a social problem and also an economic one. But leapfrogging means it's not a must you queue. When you get a queue in a hotel, you can jump the line, literally speaking. So as much as you are taking care of labor-intensive opportunities here, because they could be done more efficiently where labor is abundant, you also think about also the other categories, and especially skill-based, capital-based, and also technology-based. It's not a must that we wait for the developed countries to clear the way for us. We can be taking care of these labor-intensive industries even as we look forward to capitalizing on skill, capital, and technology-intensive industries. What is my challenge here? My challenge around there is, you are here running a company that deals with security, which needs labor. You are here like my brother, Mheshimiwa Councillor. He's running a very hugely labor-intensive industry, because BPOs they require labor, real human beings. I'm trying to make the point closer. The worry, just to tie up this point, the worry of Elon Musk in the UK, in the US, the worry of his company is how to make a robot that does what many of us can do. That is his biggest worry, because they're already at that technology level. But now that's not where we are. We are where we need a human being to do what those other guys want to be done by a machine. And not just a machine, a computer, a machine that looks like you. So what I'm trying to tie up this point is, as we make decisions on the businesses we are doing, you are here running a security company. I was wondering when I was talking to Bureau. Most of it is looking at CCTVs, of course, alerting the security personnel. Doing all security work here is not security work back in Kenya. That's what I came to understand. It's very different. So I was just thinking in my mind, you may forgive my just thinking about money too fast. I was just wondering, how can one leverage on technology to actually be on the site while actually being in Kehancha, in Migori? That's what I came thinking. How can that security person be manning a site where they're actually in Nyando, back in Kenya, but they're actually here in the UK working? Anyway, I'm just trying to say we have an economy that is labor abundant where we come from. We have an economy that has money where we are here, and that has got scarcity of labor. We must look for a way to amalgamate all those so that selfishly it works for our economy, Kenya. I say selfishly because I don't want an economy where Kenya is not left behind. That even as we make money in our individual capacities, our country is also making forward gains. We may talk more about business later. Let me jump to investments. And I talked about it globally because, as I said, I'm not in a hurry myself. Some of you may be in a hurry. I don't want us to interact later in terms of questions, opportunities back at home, etc. But I want to be more specific, more than broad, on the investment side. Hiyo ya kwanza nimewapea a lot of macroeconomics. I want now to come closer to things that are doable in terms of investments. So you are here in the UK making 300,000 shillings a month. A teacher here, I was told you can easily make 500,000 as a teacher here. So what comes to your mind then after that? How can this money work for me? I'm working so hard here, working long hours. And of course, I need much more money to sustain myself here. So even if I'm earning more, the costs are also higher than back at home. Investments. Investment to me is, I've already worked, I have money. How can this money become more? How can my 1 million become more than 1 million? Which is the shortest route, which is safe? There is land. There is government boards. There is fixing money in the bank. There are SACCOs. There are so many areas that you keep hearing when you come back home. My work here is to open up ourselves that it's not just what we know. We can do more than we know. And I'll tell you why my passion is in one of the categories. And I do it. So I'm not passively teaching you something I don't do. When you make money here in the UK and you send back home, that is a remittance. Remittance, how do we actually spend our remittance back at home? When you send money, what is it for? Most of our remittance is consumer-driven remittances. We say to our parents, our brothers, our cousins, consumer-based. Is there a way we can harness the same money we are making, the same amount, and now have a configuration of the might from remittances to FDI in a smaller way? FDI, foreign direct investments. If you tabulate the last money you sent back home, this one went to pay what? This number 2 went to pay what? Number 3. Most of the money we said is for people to consume. It is okay. But even when we are here, I think it will make more even economic advantage to all of us when we now start seeing the money we are making and sending back home from just supporting our kin and our family members into building opportunities for investment for ourselves, because that in the long run helps the economy even more. Now, when we are there now at FDI, in whichever small manner, FDI is not just about billions of dollars and pounds. Let's talk about FDI, the same money you said. So when you are sending back home for investing, and you are now based in the UK, you are talking about investing, your brother is in the US, is about investing. Do you, at any point in time, first of all, think about, you're already a global citizen. By virtue you live in London or the environs of London. You are from Kenya. You are in London. Or those who are watching, they are in the US. So you are already a global citizen. And your decision making when it comes to investments must be of a global citizen. You can no longer afford to now make ignorant decisions. Ignorant decisions are the one we were told when we were leaving Sharks to come to Nairobi, before we actually now came to the UK. The decision you used to be told, a grown up, you only invest in this manner. Who told you? Your mother and your father. With all due respect, it's good to obey them. But you are more exposed now. You could actually now pass to give them more information because you are more exposed. You know better. So before you venture and you put in your money in anything to invest, please, at the line, you have the advantage many people don't have, to have a global view of things. And I'll go back to where I started now when I was giving you about Netherlands, but now closer home. When you talk about investments, you have your money here. All of you here have money. I can tell by your foreheads. So the money you are thinking of, the only thing that comes to your mind, and I love this is about homes. So when I talk about real estate, for me this is commendable, because this is already a revenue generator. I want to talk about land. Many of you have bought plots in Kenya, and in the process of buying more. I want us now to keep thinking all the time, I'm buying my fourth plot, my fifth plot. What do they become when you buy them? Because you buy, your investment is based on two things. One, regular income. Whatever you invest in, there is some regularity of what you get from it. My number two is capital gains. I bought it at this much, it has now gained up to this much. The plot you bought in 2021, can you test it using those parameters? As an income earner, but as a capital gainer. Many of you already have answers. You know, yes. Land never loses. Okay. Maybe I agree. The one you bought now, because I'm going back to Kenya, said me to get somebody to buy. And then you tell me when you're going to sell it. So, it is important we keep now thinking about more things. But that's not where I'm going. I wanted to start here up. Do we study to know, because anything you buy for investment is based on markets. Everything you buy. There is nothing you buy out of investment that is not in the market. When you buy T-bills, they are in the market. When you buy boats, they are in the market. When you fix money, they are in the market of banks, of money. You are fixing money using interest rate. That is the market. When you buy shares, they are in the market. NYSE, London Stock Exchange, Nairobi Stock Exchange, Nairobi Securities Exchange, Nigerian Stock Exchange, Johannesburg, they are based in the market. So it is, even when you are buying land, it is in real estate market. So everything is in the market. So do you take some time to study about the market you are putting in your money? First of all, start globally and how all of them are intertwined. Now we are here in the UK. Every time you hear the central bank here giving a guidance of interest rate, for the last 2 or so years, they have been lowering interest rates. When you hear about the Federal Reserve in the US, they have been, at the worst, sustaining, but at most times, they have been lowering interest rates. What does that tell you and your money in the bank? Because those are the decisions you need to keep on making for yourself. And I'm talking about this because diasporans, you have lost money by listening to so many people on things you should do for yourself. So start there first. So how is Dow Jones doing? It has now done its highest record ever on Friday. Highest ever. That is the US market, stock market. But how is the Federal Reserve behaving? When the Federal Reserve are meeting, they sustained the previous one, but the other previous one they lowered. Then somebody is wondering, kwani mtu hii vitu anasoma London School of Economics anatuletea hapa? Yes, because it's about your money. Those things is not about economics. It's about the money in your pocket. Because they should affect the way you are making decisions about your money. So when interest rates are lowered, what comes down alongside the interest rates? T-bills, bonds, some form of MMXs, some form of consolidated funds, in whichever name you call it. You know the money you pull together, then they're invested for you, many of you. Even that, some of it, MMFs, they are also part of that. So keep asking yourself then, when global interest rates are coming down, what should I do with my money? That's the question I'm driving at. Is it a coincidence that when interest rates in the US are coming down, they're also coming down in the UK and the entire Europe, but even in Africa, whether you like it or not, you have to do the same as an African economy. Because, as I said, the decisions you're making as an economy are also intelligent. Intelligent meaning they are interrelated to other economies because you don't live in isolation. When the interest rates are hiked, let's say Tanzania puts up their interest rate at 10%, and Kenya interest rate is at 5%. What happens? A rational person moves their money to where the interest rates are higher. So an economy experiences something called a capital outflow. Now, that is affecting your money in many dynamics. Because it's not a coincidence when also Dow Jones interest rates are coming down in the US. On the other side, stock market is going up. Because the money we invest personally, ile yangu kidogo, yako kidogo, the retail investors across the world, they make up a very small segment of all the investments in the world. So the intelligent money is the money BlackRock is investing, Goldman Sachs, HSBC in terms of their wealth management arm. That is an intelligent money because they have many brains behind their decision making. So, when the rates are coming down, they are shifting their money to other areas that have better yield. So, it becomes, by consequence, the stock market. So, that is, I want that to be the last jargons I am using now to come to the options themselves. So you said money back home for lad. At this particular time, you are seated here in 2026. It is the year of what? Because all investments have their own timing. Land has its own timing. Many of you made big money by buying land and selling times 10. Even me, I have done that in the past. So there is land here. There is a time you are sending money back home to buy infrastructure boards. You are earning 18%. So that's the second option. There is the third option here. You can build a flat. It is also a form of real estate. But then there is another category here called shares, stocks. And there is a last one called private equity. Those are the kind of things I would want you to keep on analyzing for yourself. Now, year 2026, when interest rates are coming down globally, I don't think it's a very good decision to then go where money there is no money. Where money is declining, you don't put money there. So you know what to do with that category. Real estate here, I mean land, not an income earner. This for me is not real estate. This for me is just the same way you can buy into any business because it is giving you money. When you rent out this apartment, anything that gives you money is a resource that is generating you money. It's not necessarily store of value. So, we are here in terms of land. So you have 6 plots in Juja Farm. And you are setting to buy a 4th one in another place. Please analyze. Is this the year of real estate? Or the era? Era means if you trace back 2 years back and now, how is this market performing? Because it can always help you even project how it will perform. The beauty about markets, they behave the same way. The real estate, when you see real estate changes in London, in most instances, you find the same tendency in New York, in Nairobi, and many other places. So think about that. And when you are investing in real estate, my take, as a person who is here working in the UK, when you buy 10 pieces of land, moja inataka caretaker, another one to look after it, your neighbor, which you said something also to boost for security purpose. Others, somebody anamwaga mawe hapo. Another one, there's somebody fencing your plot. Ask yourself, is this still an asset or it has started to become a liability to you? So think about that. And we are not making conclusions in this meeting. We are just provoking ourselves. So, ile deposit tumeweka to your 5th plot, unia nini? Plot ya 5. Sasa unanunua moja wapi? Kiawabogo na pale Thika. Kilimabogo. Okay, interrogate yourself. And ask yourself, how comes here in the UK, the billionaires we read about in the US, they are not so obsessed with land the way we are? How comes? That they actually buy land for fun now afterwards, like in a Bill Gates. Not in terms of as a form of wealth. So that's one. Now ask yourself, is it now the era of SACCOs? There's a community that lives here that I met over Christmas. And they were telling me about SACCOs where you put money as diaspora. And I'm not here to talk about or against any business. Okay. When you buy shares in a SACCO, have you ever tried to sell them? Try. Just kama uko na 1,000 shares, tell them to sell for you 100, then you tell me how long it will take. Okay, in a company that creates shares all the time they are needed, when will the value be gotten? Because if I need 10 shares, they are created. If I need 1,000,000 shares, they are created based on the money I have. You know, scarcity is the one that gives things value. This one with full supply, when will my value ever start to grow? So think about it. Circles, you said back money home, evaluate. There are interconnections you get. Maybe they lend you money. But purely as a form of investment, nawekaga pesa kwa sako to invest. And there is no other mutual benefit you are getting out of your relationship with the circle. Think about it and test your ideas, sometimes practically, by giving an order. Please sell for me, I need some urgent money. And then you tell me, how urgent can you get your money? How urgently can that come? So think about it. Think about fixing money, treasury boards and bills. Is this the era? Think about it. When Fed is coming down, we see Trump is voracious on pushing the new Fed chairman to put the rates even further down. Ask yourself, is he likely to succeed? Yes. Because he's already succeeded in knocking out the Fed chair. And actually, he has succeeded already in appointing his choice. So, if there is monetary easing in the US, monetary easing meaning the interest rates are coming down. So, where should your money be in that kind of an atmosphere? Think about it. Also, now get to jumping to many things which are relevant. Niko karibu kumaliza. Think about currencies as you put your money. If, for example, you fix money in a country that gives you 11%, 12%, fixing meaning not just in the bank, even T-bill and bonds, for me, they are all the same category. They guarantee you over return. So you buy bonds of 12%. Inflation could be 5%, that's fine. But is there a tendency for inflation to be stable at a period when, especially some economies are going to an election year? Those are some of the decisions you need to be doing for yourself. I'm buying bonds here, it's fixed at already 12%. Okay, in election years, have these economies I'm investing in have been able to arrest inflation for the entire period of electioneering period? Once you get the answer, it will guide you where to put your money again. Now, currency. Back home, we are talking about the dollar having, the shilling having been stable and gained since August of 2022. That's the message I'm sure you keep on hearing. But it's almost always important, don't listen to me as a politician. Information I'm giving you is verifiable online for free. Credible sites. The reason I'm throwing currency to you is because it also affects the kind how your money behaves in the next few years. So in the day of election in Kenya in 2022, the Kenya shillings to USD was 120.5. Actually, that's the day of swearing in. 120.5 shillings per greenback, per USD. It's now 130. 129 there. But what has made that, what has made the talk of, oh, we have stabilized the shilling? Can anyone make a guess why people have audacity to even come and say we have stabilized the shilling? IMF loans. Can somebody tell me why does the shilling seem stable against the dollar? Anyone with an idea? All this maneno I'm telling you is not about economics. It's about your money. Printing. Somebody else? Let me put it because so that we cross the bridge. The reason the shilling is 130 to the dollar for over 2 years is not based on the strength of the Kenya shilling. It is based on the weakness of the dollar. When you do like this, there's a lever here, like this, you put weight. When you put weight here, my brother, nishikie hapa. Yes, I want to demonstrate something so that it also helps in our decisions about our money. Now this, you used to do this in your primary schools. Don't look at me like you were born here. So we used to sit here and another boy here. Seesaw. So boy mubig agekaa hapa, wewe ulikuwa unaenda wapi? Juu. What does that mean? Mwenye ako juu ako? Now, if some of these things, keep on verifying for yourself. Because they'll betray your decision making about investments if you make a wrong turn. The dollar in 2025, the dollar lost 10% against a basket of all other global currencies. The dollar. You know, people are wondering, how can the dollar lose? The strength of a currency is always relative to. There is no strength of a currency. It is relative to something. So dollar is now the global reserve. So all the other currencies are measured relative to the dollar. Now, the US, the Federal Reserve, the US president started showing signs of this Federal Reserve is part of the executive of the US. The markets responded. The market responded by just viewing the Federal Reserve as not as dependent as the markets thought. The markets believe that a global currency should be independent of the whims of politicians. So when the market started to realize that, so a politician can actually force in somebody to be the chair, and the talk started about, we can get you out, Powell. Then the market started admitting that into the strength of the dollar. And the dollar, you can, some of this information verify later. The dollar rose 10%. So when you hear a Kenyan politician talking about, we have stabilized the shilling, first of all, it has lost from 2022. From 120 to 129. But more importantly, the shilling ought to have gained by 10% the loss of the dollar in the year 2025 alone. Do you want to verify that? Look at how much were the Kenya shillings how much were the Kenya shillings against the euro in the year 2022 in August. Just check. The same day the dollar was 120 shillings, the euro was 116. Listen to me carefully. The same day the dollar was 120.5. Kenya shillings to the dollar was 120.5. The same day, the euro was 116. How much is the euro now? Check. Kenya shillings to the euro today. Somebody just check online. $153. Now, that day, the shilling was 120.5 to the dollar in August 2022. The British pound was 136. How much is it now? You know better off the head. 175. Is that a loss or a gain? It's a loss. It's a gain to you sending back money home. But it's a loss to our economy. You get what I mean? So I'm just telling you this because as you make decisions about your money, your source of information should not be a conflicted person who is a politician. It should be verifiable information. Because even if you, this is the reason I'm telling you about currencies. You fix money at 12% per annum in let's not use our country for patriotism's sake. Let's use Uganda. And we assume the same dynamics persist. I hope you've gotten the dynamics. That the money you use here was 136. Can you do for me 175 minus 136? I want to see the percentage loss in the last 3 years. 175 minus 136 divided by 136. Now listen to these guys. No, you take 10 million. Huku UK watu hawapumui because you bought a board in Uganda, eh? We are not using that those other areas. No, we can't use Kenya. Kenya is a very good country. So you fix money through a board because it's the same way. I mean, fixing money, buying boards is all the same. So can you divide by that 28 divided by 3? Mnajua kwa nini nafanya hii? I want to see annual. How much? 9. So by just keeping your money in the bank as British pound, you have evaded to lose 9% in that Uganda we are talking about. So if you bought a boat at 12%, it means your real gain is what? If you bought a boat at 12% per annum, 3%, now put in the inflation of 4%. So all I'm triggering our mind. As you make your investment decisions, look at all those dynamics. The very last one, then I sit and we interact. Mimi, of all those other things we've talked about, I advocate for two more than all the others. One is called buying listed shares. I advocate for two, and I tell you the reason. I'm not telling you to start doing, I'm just telling you start considering them. When I buy shares, what am I buying? Okay, when I buy a board, what am I actually doing? Do you know what you are doing? When you buy a board, what do you think you are doing? You are lending money to the government. What do we keep on telling you? The government never? Very good. This is risk-free, total risk. Here, do you have friends from Ghana in this country? I hope they invested in their government boats. Some time back, 2 years back. What is the story now from them? Can they do that anymore? How the sequences of the economies run. After every 50 years, there is always a debt reset across the globe. So it's always good to time your economy you are investing in. Because you may be born in the 49th year. So, and the 50th year is next year. You could also be on the 42nd. So you have experience of 7 years. So no one can tell you anything. Where I've been investing in these things. What can you tell me? Now, debt across the world, if you study over 500 years, there is always a reset of debt. And I can tell you, in our country, Kenya, currently we are borrowing 4 billion shillings every single day on net basis. I'm saying the debt of Kenya is growing by 4 billion Kenya shillings every day, including today, on net basis. Net basis means, sijahesabu, the one they borrowed to pay you the one they had borrowed. That one is gross. I'm talking about net. So all the economies have shown that truth is never perpetually safe and sustainable all the time. It is not possible. Because our debt has now grown from 8.7 trillion Kenya shillings from 2022 to now over 12.5 trillion Kenya shillings. And that money I'm talking about is not for roads. The money we are, as Kenya, we are borrowing, the money we are building roads with is another loan we are borrowing called securitization. It's not part of this 12.5. It's another one we are calling revenue-backed and asset-backed. So it's not included. It is off the book loan. It's not in the book. It's off. The money we are doing the railway with is also off the book securitization of the railway levy. So I'm talking about we are adding 4 billion Kenya shillings every day, most of which is not going to development. It is going into the recurrent. It means they are not going to investing. When you take a loan and you buy this flat can pay itself because you just need a deposit of mortgage, the rent will pay the mortgage until the house becomes yours, is it? But when you take a loan to go and watch AFCON in Morocco, are you going to get anything out of that in terms of tangible money? Exactly. So that is how it is. So we cannot do that perpetually, but we should talk about very good things happening in Kenya. So let me shift. But you've gotten what you've gotten. It is never perpetually at the safe. Oh, government boards. Ah, very nice. Ghanaians, your friends. Do you know what happened? Their government told all the debtors, guys, I know I owe you 1 million shillings, but from today I owe you 700,000. It's called a haircut. Yes, economically it's called a haircut. You'd go to the court, okay, you are given even, and you know what they do? They do that to domestic, because foreigners may constrain other things for future funding. So domestic, it's me and you, and NSSF and the rest, is it? When the government tells you, I know I owe you 1 million, but from today, you're taking a haircut of 30%. Go to the Supreme Court, they give you even all that you need to recover your money. So utachota GK hivyo kama utafanya nini? So what I'm trying to say is, there is no totally safe investment. Test it across all the other risks. The risk may not have happened in the last 8 years, but maybe it will happen in the next 2. That's what I'm trying to say. So the reason I prefer these last 2. One is shares. Why? I understand it. Straightforward. I don't need to send anyone back home money that it will invest for me. I'll send to my own stockbroker from the UK direct. And I write an email giving them an order to buy me my own shares. Or they'll actually give me an online platform. I trade for myself. So I don't need intermediaries. That's tick number 1. Secondly, the question I asked you, when you are buying those other things, this one you are lending to government. When you are fixing money, you are actually giving the bank a liability. The money you get out of giving your deposits in a bank, you're also lending the bank, in quotes. That's why they give you a motivation of 12%, because you are lending the bank. Are you getting me? Higher. So all this is lending. But I'm lending to a third party. Government is a third party. Bank is a third party. Okay, but you are told what? They are risk-free. Okay, fine. Sawa. Okay. When I'm buying shares, this is how I see it. If you have 100 of these bottles, that carton is called a company. When one bottle is yours, and one bottle is my brother's, and cancel the other bottle, so we have 1 share each in that carton. That is basically it. That, I know when I'm buying 1 share, I'm buying the value of that company. I am a part owner. So, is this the era of shares? In my opinion, much more in Kenya. The Dow Joneses are hitting the roof. They are recording their bestest years, if there is such a word. Because they have hit 50,000 Dow Jones on Friday. I think today it still went higher. But in Kenya, companies are trading for bargain. And I'll give you a few examples. Because when you are buying shares, don't buy a share, buy the company. In your mind, wewe unajua nanunua hii kampuni. So that even if you buy one share, you are buying the company. Take any share listed in the NSC. Just shout one. Safaricom, any other? Let's start Safaricom. Safaricom was 45 shillings in the year 2021. Today it was 32. They have invested in Ethiopia. They have now started showing signs Ethiopia is recovering from bleeding cash to being a tap, bringing in money into the company. So use that information. Any other? Equity Bank. Equity Bank, their core capital, the worth of the bank, vis-a-vis how it is trading in the market, it is trading at 25% discount. That is, the share, if you buy all the shares of equity, vis-a-vis the company, if it was to wood up today, the money the owners would get, you are buying it for 75% of the value. Any other? Kenya Power. Kenya Power made 24 billion last year in net profit. 24 billion. The entire Kenya Power is valued for 30 billion. What more do I need to tell you? Are you getting what I'm saying? So these things I'm saying, they are not jargons. They are real things that you must use in your decision making. Kenya Power made 24 billion last year. Can you just even think that? They are worth 30 billion. That if diasporas in the UK bought it today, in 1.5 years, you've recovered all your money. Are you getting? Any other? Kenya Airways is, okay. Every area, there is no sure bet in investments. I hope you know that. Kenya Airways could be one of those. Is it? Out of the basket of many, it's operating on negative capital. Let me not talk about it. Yeah. Any other? I want you to give me the ones you know. Kenyari. East African breweries. And I'm looking at it in terms of value. Me, I look at it like I'm buying the company. EABL trading at maybe 250 shillings today. Asahi Group in Japan are buying from Diageo 65% of EABL for how much? 590 shillings a share. You know, the reason I'm telling you these things is to show you the market in Kenya is deep. As we see the other markets flaring up, there are markets that are still depressed. And a depressed market is a good market for the buyer, not the seller. Are you getting? So it's, I know some of you bought shares when they are very high. That's your problem. We are now talking about the current buyers. Are you getting me? Tell me any other. Kenyan. Kenyan, they made a profit of 10.6 billion last year. Their entire market capitalization is 60 billion. Their assets is 500 billion. They have assets of 500 billion shillings. No, you know why I'm telling you these figures? Look at yourself like you're buying the entire Kenyan. Would you even think twice? Would you think even twice? Have that mentality when you're buying shares. Any other, the last one? Kenyari. Now listen to this story. Kenyari, they have been making a profit of like 5 billion shillings on average. Their market capitalization, the entire world, if you bought all the shares of Kenyari, you'd spend 17 billion. So don't say about the billions. When I say about five, just say, okay, he's talking about 5 million, but the company is worth 17 million. Bring it down. Even me, that's what I do to see it with my eyes, not with the big figures. So a company making 5 billion, but is valued at 17 billion. It's making net profit of 17. Second thing, these fellows have no loan, zero. They have no one they owe even an overdraft. That their cash and cash equivalent. Listen, cash and cash equivalent, do you know what that means? Money fixed in the bank, the money lying in the bank, and the ones in T-boats, T-bills and boats. Those are cash and cash equivalent is anything that you can turn into cash like this. That's why they are called cash and cash equivalent. They have 41 billion. That doesn't sound real. A company is valued at 17 billion. That if you bought all the shares today, it would cost you 17 B. And the entire Kenya ifungwe kama nyama, uwekewe ni yako. Upon going home and kufugua ile nyama, the cash and cash equivalent alone, pesa, ulirealize si nyama tu walifunga, hapa kado, wameweka kitu. Pesa is 41 billion and is part of the 17 you paid. Yani, umenunua nyama ya 170 shillings. Quarter. Umeshika? 170 shillings. Kufika nyumbani kwenye uliwekewa,